today we're talking about week 3 of the pantry challenge. And the pantry challenge is when you try to use food from your fridge, freezers, and pantries before going to the grocery store. Typically this is done in January and February, and it's a way to help you use up the stuff that you already have before you start filling them up again during the harvest season, and it's also a way to save some money. So if you're interested in doing the pantry challenge, then follow along with me. And just as a side note, I did not create the pantry challenge. Jessica at Three Rivers Homestead created it. She started doing it years ago, and now she encourages other people to do it as well. If you want to find more pantry challenge videos, you can search for the hashtag pantry challenge. I'm going to be talking about the week of Wednesday, January 15th to Tuesday, January 21st, and we have not gone to the grocery store yet. So as we're getting along in the pantry challenge, the fridge is getting more and more sparse, which is good. So because I had the dishwasher incident where my dishwasher leaked, ruined my floor and my island, I will at some point here within, I'm assuming the next couple months, I will have to get everything remodeled. And because of that, I am on a mission to empty my fridge as well. So all of those condiments, all of those jars of, pickles and whatnot, all those things, I'm now getting the urge to go ahead and start consuming those things. So in the next weeks of videos, you're going to be seeing that as well. I really want to empty that freezer upstairs in our upstairs fridge because of the same reason. Now we do have 2 freezers in our basement, and we have been working through those, but they're still pretty full. So you'll see in my next few weeks that that's probably what I'm going to be focusing on, is the kitchen fridge and making sure we get the stuff out of the freezer, or get enough out of the freezer upstairs so that we can still fit it in the freezers downstairs when they do have to take out our fridge for the remodel. All right, so for this week, on Wednesday the 15th, I had garlic chicken pasta that I had made on Tuesday the day before. This was Bird's Eye. It was a bag of their garlic chicken pasta, and I just wanted to get it out of the freezer. I ate the rest of that on Wednesday. I did add some queso fresco to that, and then some lemon pepper seasoning again. I did finish the rest of the pho that I've been working on, so that was completely done. We had some chocolate milk in our fridge, and I wanted to use it up. It was getting to that expiration date, so I had that. And then I also had some fermented rhubarb. Now I didn't finish this, but it is on my goal to finish it. So I have made something, it's called rhubarb fool. And it's a fermented rhubarb, so you take rhubarb, I think you put salt and cardamom and fresh ginger, and then you let it sit, and then you pack it in this jar, in like a mason jar. You pack everything down so that the juices cover it, and it's very, very good. It's obviously very packed with probiotics, which is another benefit. But as I was looking at my fridge thinking, man, I have to start eating some of these things, and this is pretty much just something that I eat, I started eating on that. So I have been working on that. That will definitely be done, I would say, within the next week. I ate that multiple times this week, and I only have probably 2 inches left in a quart-sized mason jar. So I will be able to finish that. So that was Wednesday. I haven't really mentioned this. Generally speaking, sometimes I don't have breakfast, or I basically eat whenever I'm hungry. Now, I always have coffee. I make my own coffee at home. It's usually black coffee, and then I do make some chaga ice cubes that I basically make from brewing chaga and cinnamon and cloves. And on this particular batch, I added some birch polypore and reishi, all dried mushrooms. And then I added some pineapple skins that was from my freezer. I made this around the end of December. I take those ice cubes and then I'll put them in my coffee in the morning to cool my coffee, right? But then I'm also getting some of the health benefits of those things that I had mentioned. And so I do that every day. Depending upon what I have going on, I will have, like lately I've been having a granola bar because I'm busy. And so I need something quick. So I'll just grab a granola bar. Plus it's getting some of those granola bars out of our pantry. We do have a bunch of different kinds. So Thursday I had a granola bar. I guess I had the rest of my pho on Thursday. I thought I finished it on Wednesday, but I did finish it on Thursday. And remember, I used my Thai squash broth that I had made. That is now done, thankfully. I did put some mushroom broth in there as well to make it a little bit thinner because I had so many noodles. And that mushroom broth was when my husband was reconstituting some dried mushrooms. You put them in hot water and let them rehydrate. And then you have this leftover, very nutrient-rich mushroom broth. And so I put some of that in there as well. I had some of the pulled pork as well that my husband had made. We had taken out some venison chops and venison inner loin, basically venison steaks that we had in the freezer, and my husband was going to cook those up for us that next night, but he didn't end up doing it until later. But we did take them out of the freezer, just put them in the fridge. Then on Friday morning, man, I had a rough morning. I woke up and I was making my coffee and I dumped it all over. Brand new 20-ounce tumbler full of hot coffee, and I dumped it all over on my raw floor and my cupboard and everything. So that wasn't a great way to start the morning. I did have some cheese, sausage, and crackers. So my husband was at work for like some training sessions that they had. They had cheese and sausage. He had gotten like a baggie of it and he brought it home. So I started eating some of the cheese sausage, and then I just used some of our crackers that we had in the pantry. So I had that. One of my girlfriends does a girls' lunch meeting once a month, and she picks a restaurant. Whoever can go to it goes to it. This was at 1 o'clock on Friday, so I met out with my girlfriends. For lunch, I had got this pesto mac and cheese cavatappi. I ate half of that, and I brought the rest of it home. Later on, again, I had the cheese, crackers, and sausage, and then I had some of that fermented rhubarb fool that I was talking about earlier. That night for dinner, my husband had that cavatappi that I had for lunch that I brought home, so he had that for dinner, which was good. Then on Saturday, I made one of my quick and easy meals. It's a crock pot meal. So I had an online seminar all day Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and so I knew I had to just plan something that was quick and easy. So Saturday morning I got up and I made this meatball recipe that I make pretty frequently, and I have a video that I created for it, so I'll link it up above so that you can check it out. So I got a bag of frozen meatballs out of the freezer. I did a can of pineapples that I canned myself. I did a pint jar, and then some barbecue sauce, and you throw that in there and you throw it in with the pineapple juice as well. Now typically I use my own home canned barbecue sauce, but because I'm trying to get stuff out of the fridge, we had some barbecue sauce. We had 2 jars of barbecue sauce. One was Sweet Baby Ray's, which we love and we use like when we're making barbecue chicken. That is our go-to. But my husband had got this other type of barbecue sauce. I didn't realize it was spicy, but it was. But I want to get rid of it. So regardless, I just dumped that whole jar in there because we weren't really using it. It wasn't expired at this point, but it just needed to get used. So he must have used it for some recipe. He only used a little bit. And again, that's not our go-to barbecue sauce. So I just dumped that in the crock pot instead of my normal canned barbecue sauce. So it was good because I got something out of the fridge. I just put that on low for about 4 hours. I did turn it up to high for an hour because I wanted to make sure that it would be done in time for my lunch break. While I was in that seminar, I asked my husband if he could just make us some rice. So he made some rice, and then what we did is we just put rice down in a bowl, and then we spoon on the meatballs and the pineapple and some of that sauce because the rice kind of helps soak up some of that sauce, and there's a lot of it. So I made that. It was very spicy, more spicy than I had anticipated, but it was good. So I had that for lunch, and my husband had that as well for lunch. Again, I was on a seminar all day, so I had a granola bar for breakfast. I had some more cheese, crackers, and sausage kind of as my dinner, I guess. I'm trying to use up stuff from my fridge, and so I do a lot of home canning, and I pickle a lot of things. I enjoy Bloody Marys, and I like to put every pickled garnish in my Bloody Marys. And so I had a jar of dilly beans that is dilled green beans, basically. There was probably like, I don't know, 5 to 7 green beans in it. So I just ate those and got those out of the fridge. So that was another thing I got out of the fridge. So for dinner, my husband took out a chicken breasts, a pack of the chicken breasts from Costco. We had some pesto in the fridge that I made. I make it and then I freeze it. And then whenever my husband wants pesto, then he can just have pesto, and he loves pesto. So he did chicken, he cut it up in like cubes, he fried it, cut it up in cubes, and then he added pesto and rice. And that's like one of his favorite meals is just chicken, pesto, and rice. So that's what he had for dinner. That was Saturday. For Sunday, I was in that seminar again. For lunch, I had more of the meatballs, pineapple, and rice. And then my husband had more pesto, chicken, and rice. So he finished the pesto that was in the fridge the day before, but he had more chicken left. So he went down in the freezer and he grabbed up another jar of pesto. So he started working on another jar of pesto. So he had that. And then that night, I made something called taffy apple salad. One of my most favorite ways to use a bunch of apples. It is so good. And I did create a video on it, so I'll link it up above. This is a great recipe. It has apples in it. So I got all the apples out of my fridge. I think I had 7 or 8 apples. And then I used another jar of pineapple, but this time I used a small 10-ounce jar of pineapple. I used peanuts, so like cocktail peanuts. I got to get rid of 2 containers, one bigger container and then one little itty bitty bag of cocktail peanuts. And so I got to get rid of them. And then I also got to get rid of a container of Cool Whip from our freezer. So all of this goes into this recipe. It's really good. It's a sweet recipe. There's some other ingredients. Again, I'll post the video up above, and it'll be in the description below this video, of course. So check it out. It's a great way to use up your apples, Cool Whip, peanuts. It's a great recipe. I love it so much. And so that is what I made that evening, and I had some of that as well that evening. That was basically what I ate for dinner. On Monday, I had some more of the pulled pork, and then this time I added some coleslaw that I had made. And then my husband had more of the chicken, pesto, and rice. That was what he had for lunch. And then on Monday evening, we finally had that venison. We had the venison steak and chops, which are all basically just steak. We had boiled red potatoes, and we had some mushrooms and onions that he made for his venison roast sandwiches, and he had a bunch left. And I said, well, let's just eat them with the venison steak, and that was perfect. It was really, really good. So that was Monday evening. On Monday night, I did a fridge inventory. And basically what I did is I looked in my fridge and I started writing down the things that I had in my fridge. I'm looking at what I have in there and then how can I use it. Because of that, I'm starting to kind of come up with a game plan. So for Tuesday, what I had was I had 2 pieces of toast. So I had the last sandwich bread in the house. I had 2 pieces of toast, and I added some nut butter that I got at Costco. It's a combination of all sorts of nuts and seeds, and so I had some of that on those 2 pieces of toast, and then I had in there like a natural Smucker's jelly. It's been in the fridge, and so I just wanted to use that. We're not big on jam and jelly, and so this was a way for me to use up the bread, use some of that nut butter, and then use some of that jelly. So that was for my like breakfast lunch type of a thing. So then my husband had the rest of the pulled pork and the rest of the rice. So he finished that off. That was his lunch. It was pulled pork and rice. So for dinner, we had like a Polska kielbasa with cabbage and onion. I took a Polska kielbasa out of the freezer. I thawed of this literally like a couple hours before making dinner. So I put it in the sink with water to thaw. And then we had some cabbage left from the garden. Can you believe it? It's Wisconsin, January 21st when we had that. And I still had some cabbage from my garden. So we used the rest of the cabbage from the garden. We cut it up, and then we cut up an onion. That sausage, you cut it into like coins and fry it, and then reserve that. And then you do the onions, kind of caramelize those onions, and then you put in the cabbage and kind of let that wilt with the onions. And then when it's almost ready, then you throw back in that sausage. This has been a meal that is newer to us as in we just started doing this the last couple months. Because we had so much cabbage this year in our garden, we just grew a lot of cabbage. I don't have a lot of cabbage recipes in my back pocket, so that is one of the ways we used it. And so we were finally able to use up the cabbage in our fridge, which was awesome. And there is enough for another small meal of that left. So that is what we had for week 3 of the Pantry Challenge. And I'm wondering, how are you doing with the pantry challenge? Well, A, are you doing it, or are you just watching these videos, which is fine. Let me know if it's something that you might be interested in the future. Also, let me know if you find it helpful for me to create some of the videos of the recipes that I make so that you can recreate them if you want. Just a thought. And any other ways you would like some videos on this pantry challenge. I thought about doing like a here's my fridge video, clean out my fridge type thing, or maybe how I go about planning my meals, things like that. So if you have any suggestions, put them in the comments below. I want to make this about you as well, and I want to make sure I'm giving you content that you're interested in. Now, I know not everybody is maybe interested in doing a pantry challenge, so I'm trying to put out other videos as well, just to keep you interested. So go ahead, put your comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I do try to read all of the comments that you put. And until next week, good luck on your pantry challenge.